So I have just saged and smudged and said hello to the angels and the ancestors and the energies that are meeting me now in this time, space, dimension, reality, using the archetypes deck by Kim Kranz, and wanting to, it's so funny because with the archetypes, your clarity is different. It's not the same clarity as regular tarot. It's depth and insight. And so I'm sharing this, even though it's a personal situation that I'm dealing with, but I figure that when I heal, we all heal. And we learn from sharing with each other. And so in this deck, the way that she has split it is with the selves, the tools, the places, and like the cosmos. And so I'm feeling like the first position is going to be the place, which is interesting because I didn't think that was going to come up. But as I'm feeling this out, I think, so basically as context, like I'm just going on, there's just drama at work and I'm getting sucked in, and I've been ruminating for like 3 weeks and just giving it up to the universe. But we don't decide when we heal, only grace does that. And all I can do is continue to show up and surrender. Let go or be dragged. And I'm starting to feel that loosening grip, but I'm wanting to play with this deck, and I figure why the heck not? And so I was going to do a self and not self spread, but I'm actually feeling very called to do a place. Like, where within me is this taking place? What space within my energetic coding or experience is this taking place? So that will be the first draw. And then okay, all right. The not self that is appearing as a result, the tool used to get to my higher self, I guess. So it'll be another draw from the self. I'm just going to go with the flow on this one. I'm not entirely sure if that's like what's meant to be happening here, but I'm just going to go with it. So, and trust, right? And these things are, archetype work is not fast and not clean cut. So I'm just, just really asking for guidance. This is places. Yeah, because that's what I said. I'm asking for guidance. So what is the archetypal place within me that this is taking place? And I usually shuffle till the card falls out. There's 2 that have fallen out here, but I'm going to go with what kind. I got this card recently in a reading. So the place that this is taking place within me, the ocean. And behind the ocean is the river. So off first, why don't I just keep picking? Okay. And so the not self, the frustration self, the not self that is really being expressed within me as I'm going through this situation. And by that not self, I mean the shadow side of me. And I mean, these aren't bad things. They all have their place. We're only human. And to fragment ourselves into good and bad, my ego is bad or my shadow self is bad, is only further serving to separate and fractionate ourselves from the whole. And while we, I think that to deny their existence and pretend, oh, they don't exist because we're all one, does a disservice to us. And to say, oh, they're bad, is a disservice, because everything has a gift. I don't want to go on another, I can go on a tangent. So the not self that is coming up is the poet. That's interesting. The poet. Okay. The tool to utilize to help me get past the situation, I guess. The tool. And that's how we do it. Again, I got this card recently, is the vow. Shit, these are deep, man. And I'm just pausing because I'm not sure. I feel a little torn between choosing another self, as in like, this is the higher self that I'm moving into, or if I'm sort of leaning towards choosing like a cosmos card, basically. What does she call them? The initiation. Initiation cards. Which, to be honest, at this point, I'm not super familiar with. So I would definitely have to do some reading. What does she say about the initiations? Let's find out. These are similar to trump cards or the major arcana in tarot. They represent the big moments, junctures, and situations in life that carry major significance along our journey. Archetypically speaking, initiations are events that will change us on a fundamental level. They are the big whammies of life. In the model of the hero's journey, they may be called the ordeal. Think falling in love, heartbreak, and beyond heartbreak, death of a loved one, marriage, divorce, moving, having a child, facing a trial, or experiencing a spiritual awakening that shakes your foundation. We know we have gone through an initiatory experience when the very fiber of life as we know it has changed. Okay, I feel like that's not where I'm going with this. I feel like maybe choosing another self as a high self, maybe. But I'm also just hesitant in the sense of like, perhaps the poet and its light. No, as I'm saying, that doesn't feel right. So I'm going to choose another self. And the selves are these different variations. Do I even really want to explain it? We have all of the selves within us. That's why they're archetypes. It's like, using astrology, you have all of the signs within you, even if you have no planets in that placement. So a good way of understanding this is that like, you're never going to meet somebody who only has like 7 houses. It just is impossible. We all have 12 houses, and it's ruled by one of the signs and influences us in different ways, and there's no way getting out of it. So even if you're just like heavily air, heavily earth, or whatever, like you still have all of the elements within you and those active signs influencing you regardless. So the same is true with the archetypes. They all live within us. Some are more active expressions at different times than others. But they're all within us. And so the selves are part of that encompassing, like with Jungian psychology, there's like a basic 12, but there's thousands of archetypes, and their energy is infinite and boundless. And so it's a lot to wrap the head around, So I'm going to put the tools away, and I am going to pick another self. And this is the highest self that I get to come across to, I guess. And you know what? I'll see. Well, I'm not the one who chooses. Spirit chooses, I feel a little bit weird about this last placement. Maybe it'll have, show some clarity, but I just want to focus on like the higher self that I can, there we go. I've got a few that fell, but 2 fell right side up, and I usually like to pay attention to that. So I have the Judge and the Shapeshifter, which is, wow, really, they beautifully go hand in hand in my opinion. So what does this mean to me? What does this mean to me? And I should show you those cards. The shapeshifter and the judge. And for those who were curious, the judge fell closer to me and than the shapeshifter, and they were both on my left side. So if we want to get to the nitty gritty, some could interpret that as the judge being closer to me, whereas the shapeshifter could be like in the larger picture of things. Whether that resonates true or not, I'm not sure. Perhaps it does for you, because I already said, like, part of the reason why I'm sharing is because what I'm going through is not just me alone. And I think that's really being illustrated here as far as the place. This is our first position. And remember, we got the river and the ocean, and the river was behind the ocean. So for me, the first and foremost, where is this taking place within me? The entire collective. Like, it's a really good reminder that, like, right now on a global scale, it is sticky, messy, and crunchy up there within, out above. Like, we can see this with our cosmic planets and just, oh my gosh, like, okay, so for instance, we're transitioning. We're in this really fresh position from going from Capricorn for the last 200 years into Aquarius for the next 200 years. That just happened in December. And so the fact that we're just changing from like elements from earth to air is a huge adjustment period. That in itself, let alone COVID, let alone the Saturn placements that we have, we are moving as a collective into this higher space. And you can agree or disagree, but I feel like we see the evidence in things just as far as like the Me Too movements and meditation becoming part of schools, and the fact that like people are reclaiming themselves as witches. We have all of this higher thinking, all of this expanding that is happening. And that can't be done without pain. Jung talks about it all the time. It's all over the place. Like, that's why it's called growing pains. We do not grow out of just self-will, because if everything was super comfortable and cozy, we wouldn't need to go anywhere. And so pain is actually a deep and beautiful friend. I'm going on another tangent, but where is this happening? In the ocean. And the ocean, to me, I mean, this is my own interpretation. That sounded funny. But to me, the ocean is the collective. And the ocean, again, too, it's water. So it's like our emotional landscape. So, oh, how appropriate. I mean, emotions can't be owned. Like, even I mean, as different as I think I am to Donald Trump, we both feel shame. We both feel joy. We both feel sadness. I mean, and that's the whole idea. To me, that's the same feeling of like in the ocean is like, it's being the drop of water within it. And even the ocean, if you think about like how it evaporates and goes into the sky, like there is nowhere you can go without water. And the boundaries can be really obvious, like an ocean water and a horizon, or it can be really blurry, because even within a horizon, there's water within the air that we don't see, and we're breathing it in, and it's part of us, So it's this really like nebulous, blurry space, which is really illustrated beautifully with getting the river behind it, because the river is a more independent, individual concentration of water. And so to me, this is like my own flow of emotions and water that leads into the ocean, that is part of this body of water in a larger space. It's interesting because there's a reflection here of someone on horseback. So it's actually this way. And horses to me immediately are nobility. That's interesting just because in like Chinese astrology, I'm also a metal horse. So it's all about reflection. So I feel like I'm, this was very appropriate for me in the fact that like I'm being reflected as a water metal horse right here. So yeah, to me. For those who are listening in, let's see. This is, let's find it. The ocean and the bridge. Here's the ocean. So what she reads or writes is, the power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. We cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature, yet amid its overwhelming power, it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on hand. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline swells work in your very cells, your fibers, your deepest underlying beliefs. Like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's froth, a new being. Life is changed, let the waves crash. How appropriate is that after I was just talking about all of us are changing, you know, like not even from, like, just alone from Capricorn into Aquarius, you know, for the next 200 years, like, we're all going through it. We're all uncomfortable right now. And the river behind it, right? Let's see what she says about that. That's wild. And so, like, within this context of, like, my own drama, I feel like it's just a reminder, like, they're going through it too. Like, nobody escapes the storm when it's stormy, you know? Or whatever. We're all a part of it. Let's see if I can find the river here. I keep missing it. Maybe it's not even in place and I put it in the wrong spot, but it doesn't matter because there is no right and wrong when we do this. There's just, you know, the cards, the message, the interpretation, the tool, you know. Oh, here it is. Okay. The river. There is a reason so many rituals of change and rebirth take place in the river. It is forgiveness embodied in physical form. Without asking anything in return, the river washes away what is no longer necessary, smoothing over sharp edges and accepting all our mistakes and grievances. Once we step in, we are no longer in control. The river carries us farther down the stream of transformation than we planned to go. Its waters have a special gift for reflecting back to us anew and dreamlike vision. Once the tears have passed, we see ourselves as we haven't before, with a little more lightness, grace, and fluidity. Keep in mind that you stand within the river. Keep in mind that the you that stands within the river is the real you, full of deep emotion and potential. Nothing to hide, nothing to judge. You may drink in the sight of your true self. You know, that's a really beautiful reminder too, because I think during this situation, I've definitely been feeling like a little bit of ugliness towards myself in the way that I've been responding to these things. And so it's such a wonderful reminder of, like, think about where baptisms are often held, you know, outside, it's in the river. And just like remembering that, like, no matter what expression my unmet needs take, I am always holy. I am always, you know, in the holy. I am never not myself, even in my not self, if that makes sense, you know? Cool. So the poet is the next card. That was, where is this, what is my not self that is showing up? And from what I know about the poet, from my Enneagram experience, the drama. Yeah, I mean, the poet is beautiful, right? Because the poet and the artist, we have these deep, deep feelings. We see the earth. We're sensitive. And because we are so sensitive, we can make this beautiful art and, like, chew on things and help people come along because of the expressions that that takes. But as a result, like, it can get really dark and sticky and messy and self-centered and self-absorbed, and, like, it's easy to get into depression, and it's easy to, you know, in this card it shows a bunch of crows, like, splitting off from, I don't know if they're holding a moon or a jar, I don't know, but it just reminds me for, like, myself, like, God, even the last 3 weeks, it's like my thoughts are just like scattered and yet focused at the same time. It's like this muddled darkness. It's like, I guess when I look at this card, I think of like the situation and the people that I'm in right now. Like if this is the situation and it's like my darkness is just like holding it and enveloping it and nursing it, and yet my unmanageability is being expressed throughout my life, you know, and it's sending out this scattered energy, not only in my thoughts and like my field, but like the unmanageability that like goes into every facet. And I suppose I see the colors as that representation of all the areas in my life, you know. And it's interesting too with the crows, because crows are considered spiritual messengers, right? They're tricksters too. And so we have this interesting, and they don't forget and they communicate. What you do to one crow, all crows around the world knows. Anyone who's had a bad crow experience will know that, right? And so that's a really wonderful way of illustrating just for like my not self. It's like, you know, I am, or you, whoever we, you know, it's like all of these crows are potential messengers, and it's like, am I willing to see and hear what their message is? And am I being tricked by my own thoughts, you know? Yeah, are my thoughts just like tricking me and I'm buying into that and just holding on to this idea of what I think is happening, you know, rather than like releasing it in like a healthy, positive way and transmuting that. So that's my interpretation. Let's see what she says about the poet. Here we go. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not to be afraid. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. This unique capacity resides within us all, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there is a call for deep honesty and reflection, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and universal, which is demonstrated in our places. It's possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come, soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world. The poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. Man, yeah. So when light, clairvoyant, wise, and timeless, and when it's in its dark, harmful words, sharp tongue, thwarted creativity. Yeah, that's really interesting, because I can definitely see, like, for my character defect is, like, yeah, the drama, man, it just takes over. So for me, like, it's really important for me to be digging around and doing this work that we're doing, right? It's like reflecting and trying to own like my own part of it, right? But like, I can only be responsible for my own part of it. I need to be deep and honest with myself, and that's all I'm responsible for. You know, I can't force anyone to read my poem and my reflections and then therefore get their ahas and we can come together as equal party members. Like, even though I want that, that's not my job. That's not my responsibility. And the beautiful thing about art is that, like, yeah, it's open to interpretation, right? Like, what the artist has in mind when they create their piece is, God, so subject to interpretation, and there is no control over that. And I don't think the artist ultimately wants control over that, because art is about making statements and creating conversation and looking things at all different aspects. And so in this situation, I feel like it's highlighting almost like, yeah, the light self as the poet throughout this, but also like the darkness of, like, yeah, sharp words, harmful thoughts, for sure. I know that I'm definitely quick to be like a disciplinarian and want justice, which I have a hard time with that concept, but like, yeah, I guess that's a good way of like explaining what I feel when I'm in these situations. So that's interesting. So maybe write some poetry is a good homework assignment for anyone who's like relating to this. Write some poetry about what you're experiencing. The tool to get to the higher self is the vow. Now, the vow to me, it's holy. It's a promise. There's a diamond here with holding hands and the dove, which represents, you know, the Holy Spirit. The fact that there's two hands, you know, shows me that there's actually more. Yeah, there's multiple hands here. So it shows that you're not alone. There's more than one participant, and that could just be between you and your higher self and higher power. That's still more than one participant. And there's a diamond here. Diamonds are forever, kind of a thing. Yeah, so let's see what she says about the vow, because I feel like my interpretation is, well, I feel like my interpretation is a little bit on the little self kind of stage, because I suppose to me my vow in this is to walk a road of integrity. And that's not to force other people to walk through their paths with integrity. I have no control over how they treat me. I have only control over how I treat myself. And the vow that is made here is to myself. And to remind myself that no matter what my actions are, I deserve more love, not less. Everyone deserves more love, not less. But if I can't give it to someone else, I can at least start with myself. So I think that's kind of where I'm landing on that one. What does she say about the vow? Those are places, not tools. The tools. Here we go. Thanks for putting up with me. The vow, okay. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts, karmic ties are formed, and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. There is a reason the great mythic stories of our past often include the recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. I'm laughing from a different reading. Something similar came up. The tricky part is that reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unseen forces of the world. The ancestor bears witness. The laws of nature respond. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten, so breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. One light bearing witness to the shift towards destiny, one dark, unconscious vows, uncut promises, and messy karma. Wow, that's really interesting. So for me, what's coming up for me is like maybe examining unrealized promises that I have made. And I guess part of why this situation at work is like landing so deeply for me is because I feel like it is a situation that has occurred on more than one occasion with different people. For me, I feel like I let in, I guess part of the pattern for me is that I get really close with someone and I let them in. And then it turns out they're actually a dangerous person, and their trauma comes out in what I think is very scary ways, and they're not in a place in their healing journey where they have done a lot of work with their trauma or their patterns or whatever. And it really throws me back. Yeah, and then I become inflamed, with my own reaction because I am so gobsmacked. I feel like the carpet is just coming out from underneath me, and I don't understand why people are mean like that, or I just am really confused, and it feels raw and vulnerable and scary. And so I'm wondering if there is a vow I've made to myself at some point in this lifetime or other lifetimes surrounding this, like what is the lesson that I'm learning here? or haven't learned? Why is it repeating itself? You know, is it because of something within me that I haven't resolved yet, or is it because I've made this unconscious promise to myself? And so that suggests to me, yeah, speaking with spirit and maybe going through a ritual of some kind to release me from any contract that I might have committed to that keeps me in this space of, having someone close to me that becomes emotionally dangerous, right? Interesting. And then the selves at the end of the tunnel, if you so go, is the judge and the shapeshifter. And the connection I see here is, for one, like, I definitely relate to the judge. In my Enneagram, I think I have strong 1 patterns. I have a tendency of, just judging, and that's a different, it's really beautiful in this card because there's a choice here. This is the difference between, oh my gosh, this is awesome. There is a, in step work in the women's way, in step 3, there is an exercise. Oh my God, this is awesome. Okay, there's an exercise in the women's way, step 3, to help the user, the person, understand the difference between succumbing and surrendering. And this exercise is used as a tool to help create a more trusting relationship to a higher power, which is deemed necessary in order to recover from our patterns and conditioning. And so in this exercise, it asks you to, let's just do it. Imagine a problem you're having and hold it tightly in your fist. Imagine what it might look like or feel like. Imagine that situation or that person and the words and the feelings that come with it, maybe the colors that come with it, and really just like grip it tightly and just recognize what that feels like to be holding on to that situation, you know, trying to contain it or control it. Just see what that feels like. And very slowly, I invite you to release that tension, unclench that fist, and slowly allow your muscles to just do their work of allowing your fingers to bloom outward. Again, to relax and unfurl. And notice what that feels like. Now notice the difference about how that might feel. Do you feel less tense? Do you feel more relaxed, relieved now that you have an open palm? And this is the difference between succumbing, like, maybe I'm not weaving it well, but this is what surrender looks like. Because in succumbing, we have this idea that there's this power dynamic of giving up, and it plays into this abuse and victim power dynamic. And with that, with clenching the fist, we're ready for combat, we're ready to fight, we're ready to defend, whether that's your home or your standpoint or your views or whatever, your values. But when we relax and let it go and surrender it up to the higher power, recognizing we're powerless and have no control only over ourselves, we create now an open palm. And an open palm is used to receive, and it is used to extend outward in like friendship and agreements, you know, and positivity. And so it's really beautiful that this particular card is illustrated in primarily black and white, which I think highlights black and white thinking that we can tend to have when we get into that space of being judge, jury, executioner. The yellow representing, I imagine, the self-will and making that choice. Being willing to see I think there's an eye here, if you can see that. And over here in juxtaposition, there's the skull, which could be things that are murky, but like also representing like the opportunity to put to rest what must be put to rest and let it decompose to become the beautiful, fertile compost, you know, for things to grow. And that can be as well this juxtaposition between like defending and saying no and opposing and resisting, opposed to letting go and receiving and trusting. Yeah. And then what did she say about the judge? Let's find out. It's okay to just breathe all of this in. It's a lot, you know? Okay, so we have the judge. The judge has an incredibly important job. They work every waking hour of every day, helping us discern what is safe, true, and just. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and others. Ironically, the judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the judge out of balance, building walls, separating from other. When the same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for those in need, and forgiving again and again. Love is the deciding factor. Awakening this archetype is essential for the complex times we are in. Get your judge in order. The world needs it. And when in light, discernment, advocacy, right action, compassion. When in dark, critical, punishing, unforgiving, and wall building. God, I feel like this is just so appropriate again, just because like for me in this particular situation and just generally, it's so easy for me to go into that not self of like, I'm trying to love, how come you're not, you know, which is not being in love at all. And just, yeah, like reminding again that like we're all going through the sticky ickies right now, and different charts have different hearts and we respond differently, you know. And so I think this is twofold again, and reminding myself that like as I continue and progress in my growth, I will be able to discern those who are, you know, in one of the promises of Coda, it says, I will be able to, what is it exactly? I want to get the words right because I feel like it's pretty important here. It says, I am capable of developing and maintaining healthy and loving relationships. The need to control and manipulate others will disappear as I learn to trust those who are trustworthy. That's promise number 7. And I feel like that is really beautifully spoken through this card, because like over time as I heal and grow, I will learn to discern and put up better boundaries for myself, that I'm not setting myself up for that I'm not setting myself up for hurt, and that in itself is a form of self-sabotage, you know, because I know that certain people involved have a really deep, like one of the persons involved is like, she's a gossip. I love her through and through, but like one of her defects is she just loves people's drama and cannot keep it to herself. And I know this about her, and she's burned me before, and I got comfortable again, and it's happening again. But you know, I knew that. And so without going into into judgment of myself for not being able to protect myself, and rather than going into judgment or blame with her for just being who she is, and like just accepting that that is who she is, it comes down to me like loving and honoring myself and being discerning and realizing like what boundaries I can put into place and still love myself and those people right where they're at, you know. So that's really cool. And then the last card being the shapeshifter. My own interpretation, I suppose, of this is like, again, we're coming into like a larger picture, right? Because a shapeshifter has access to all forms. So it's pretty like, I think, what's the word? Appropriate, I guess, that the reading started with this and in with water, and with this one, which is like a little bit more on the ethereal side, I suppose, but both connecting to like a larger picture in the whole. And the shapeshifter also reminding myself that like when I have strong boundaries and remember who I am at the core self, you know, and keep those promises to myself about protecting myself, I am therefore able to further discern my situations and the people that I'm with in them and love myself and those people for where they are and who they are without jeopardizing myself. And that's beautiful. Yeah. And it allows me to shapeshift into different roles, you know? If I can be the octopus, I can be whoever, and that doesn't mean in like a chameleon codependent way of like changing who I am to like avoid rejection or to be people pleasing or whatever. It's shape-shifting to harness the flow and the power of that situation. Like, we're always shape-shifting and we have all of these within us. That's part of why this deck exists, you know? Like, what mask, what tool, what archetype, what energy can I tap into in this moment to help me walk as my highest self, you know? Where can I tap into so that I can be more forgiving, or I can protect myself and still accept and live with spiritual principles? Like, I think that's huge for this card. That's my own interpretation of it. Let's see what she writes, if I can get there. So the shapeshifter. Oh, I'm skipping. Here we go. The shapeshifter. The shapeshifter has a love of theater, games, and trickery. Its energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a more complex story below the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal, and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. When the shapeshifter card appears, it is important to imagine you are looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than a single focus lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision than you imagined. Be wary, though, as the allure of the kaleidoscope can leave you exhausted and yearning for solid ground. Dancing long-term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to the center. When light, vibrant, adaptive, and humorous. When dark, charlatan, people-pleasing, and trickery. So that's interesting. That's not quite where I was landing, but it totally ties into what I was saying because, yeah, it's like in the higher self, you realize that, like, your job is just your job, man. The people you work with are just your work people. They can be as close or as far as you want them to be, or I want them to be. And I'm not there forever. Like, this is temporary. Everything is changing all the time, you know? And to have that easy flow with things helps me not to get so invested in the drama and the emotions of it all, and to just be like overwhelmed by it all. And I think that's like a really good reminder too in this card that the very flip side of it is getting into that people pleasing, right? Like avoiding the confrontations or whatever, you know, maybe compromising my own values just to be able to get through things at work. So again, being grounded in myself, in my own flow, and remembering my promises to myself so that I can walk with integrity and be discerning. So that's interesting. There's a few different ways to go about this, right? Because, yeah, and just reminding, like, also on the flip side of that, of like possibly what promises have I made to myself that puts me in these positions that are slippery and putting me in my not selves and such, right? So it's an interesting, I really like working with this deck because it's so easy to weave multiple threads to creating this larger tapestry. You can follow one line of thread and get to the same / different place. Yeah, so that's helpful. That's really helpful for me, and just, I think, I hope it was helpful for you and whatever you're going through. And I think that, I think my work today is sending some more love to myself in regards to this entire situation. And okay, let's do that. I know we just did a similar meditation, but I really feel like a good way to close this session and to integrate this, like the medicines that we just received. Well, just come follow with me if you choose to. Get into a comfortable position and put your hands on your lap or in prayer next to your heart, whatever feels comfortable to you. Open your eyes, close your eyes, again, whatever feels natural to you. Just to get into this space and in your body and in this present moment. And just breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And as we do this, we are realigning. Breathe in. And breathe out. And when I say realigning, I suppose part of what I mean by that is integrating the medicines that we've just been receiving. We can take as much or as little as we would like. And it doesn't really matter what you're consciously aware of as far as bringing that in. Just the fact that we're here together hearing these words and being in these energies is enough for them to start integrating into your field. And spirit will determine what your ego is ready for and what it is not. But your spirit is always recording and listening. Your energy field is recording and listening. And so I believe to help that process along, the intention, the magic, the spells that we cast is stating our intention, like, yes, spirits, guides, ancestors, angels, the energies who have come here and are working on our highest light and our highest outcome. Make it so. Help me integrate these medicines so that I can walk on this earth as a gift, as my best self. And it's okay that I don't understand some of it. It's okay that I'm not perfect, because I can't be, but having faith that it's here to help me and that it's recording and it's in me. And I think that, part of what I want to do here is just, if you have a situation also that you're going through, that you've been walking through and holding with you as we're going through this, I offer this moment for you. I invite you to imagine it in your palm, or feel where it is in your body. Maybe that resonates more. Like, is it this butterfly in your solar plexus, or this tightening in your heart, or is it this clenched jaw or fatigued muscles? Like, where have you been carrying this in you? And feel it without judgment. It's not wrong to be there at all. It's not bad. It just is, and it's part of our experience, and it's teaching us something. It's offering us something right now. It has medicine too, but like the crows we saw in that card were sort of jerked around and scattered around, and it's creating this unmanageability in so many aspects of our life, and maybe you're ready to let that go. And it's okay if you're not ready to let all of that go, maybe just some of it, or you're not sure how much. It doesn't matter the percentage, because spirit knows. and I invite you to feel that, or to see it in your arms, your hands, and in this moment, we're just going to take the opportunity to say the Ho'oponopono prayer, which I find just so healing. And this is part of walking out our vow. This is part of our vows to ourselves and to the earth plane, to the consciousness that, like, my healing benefits all, your healing benefits me. And that is my vow to do the most healing that I can do to benefit all of us, I believe that's why we're here. It's to heal. So I'm just going to imagine those people at work, and in myself as well, because we deserve the utmost love and compassion. We're hurt too. We're also little children. We're having allergic reactions to other people's allergic reactions, and it's confusing, and we're always, we're not always ourselves, and emotions are really big, and, and it's okay. It's okay that we might have lashed out, or it's okay that we didn't get that thing done, or, and it's okay that I feel helpless and frustrated in this situation that I want to control because these people aren't seeing me, they're not understanding, they're not getting better, they're not doing their work, and you know what, that's none of my business. And so I'm just going to see this situation, and I'm going to offer it these words. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And it's okay if you don't really feel this towards the people that you feel wronged by. That's okay. Just saying the words out loud right now is enough. And most importantly, if you can say them to yourself, we're saying them to the energies that be, and that is enough for now. And one more time, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to take that situation, or those people, yourself. We're going to offer it up into the sky as if it's this balloon or this bird flying out into the sky. And as you see it released into the sky, floating away or flying away, and it's moving farther and farther from you, we can just blow it a kiss. We can just blow it a kiss and know that it's not ours to control or to do anything with. It's here to help us even if we don't understand how. And in every moment, we are still infinitely loved and supported. And if not by other people, by certainly ourselves. And higher power, God, Goddess, whatever. Yeah, that feels good. So with that, I offer you great love, many blessings. Thank you for joining me. Yeah. Many blessings upon your path. May all that you see be blessed. May all that you hear be blessed. May all that you speak be blessed. May all that you feel be blessed. May all that you think, I think I said that, but it doesn't matter, be blessed. All that you touch and the ripple effect that you have in your past, present, and future be blessed. May it all be transmuted for the highest of love and light, for the benefit of all. So mote it be.